Hello, welcome. This is Nick speaking. You're hearing my voice. I'm giving you a breakdown of my rework slash remix, edit, whatever you want to define it as, because I haven't really, truth be told, I haven't really done a much to this track, so apologies for ruining the illusion. But you will hear the difference when it comes to what I have added compared to what the original iteration of this sounds like. Because when I first heard it, and it is the VIP mix from Nick Jay and Jean Luc, the classic track from Delirium and Sarah McLachlan, Silence. And I thought, this sounds good, but it's missing something. It's missing a proper drive. It's missing a huge, big kick. It's missing a bit of a rolling size sort of bass line. I thought, you know what? I messaged Nick and I said, dude, I really want to do something to this track. He said, by all means, go for it. I gave him a rough idea of what I wanted. Yep, that sounds good. Here are the stems you need, which I've only got 4 original elements in this. Granted, they are pretty much what make up the main track, but you'll hear what they're like with and what they're like without as we'll go through this video here. But essentially, I said to him, I want to do something, by all means, go for it. I did it. He's very happy with the final version, so I'm going to give you a breakdown. And when you hear it, you might think there's a lot of things going on, which in theory, yes, there are, but because multiple instruments have been rendered and exported as stem files, which is like 1, 2, 3, 4 tracks here. So we've got the instrument bus, we've got the vocals, we've got the sub, and we've also got the effects like the crashes and the rolls and things like that. Now I've added my own elements in this as well. I've put my own kick in it. I have put another bass line. I've added some more synthy effects. I've added a couple of brass drones and a bit of a shaker slash hi-hat, which you will hear as well. So this is ultimately what the first major drop sounds like. And there's the massive tail end on the reverb on some of my instruments. So first up, we'll look at the individual stem. So this is the instrument bus. This has got all the original synthy bits and pieces in there. It's very faint, but you should be able to hear it. Got a bit of a pad in this as well. Where your chords are at. So that's pretty much the bass of that bit there. So that's what I used. Then we've also got the original sub bass from the VIP mix. Now on this, I have added some distortion, as you can see on the bottom right corner here. So if I remove the distortion, nice and punchy, but I thought it needed a bit of a growl to it. And then of course there's a bit of an EQ as well. So just removing a bit of the top end on that, just to give it a more punchier, more darkish type of sound. And I'm bad at describing my sounds. I mean, I can make stuff, but ask me to describe something, fat chance. Then we've got the resung vocal, which is done very, very well. I forget the artist's name, but she did a fantastic job. So that's just the original vocal from the remix. And we've got the effects here as well. Nothing fancy. Bit of drum roll, bit of a riser, bit of a crash. That's all you got. That's your main bits. And when they're all together, they sound like this. Which doesn't sound too bad. It is obviously missing the kick. So for the kick, I removed the original and I put my own in there, and it is, I think, punchy and big as F. There's a lot of work put into this. It's a sample from a EDM pack that I have, but if you can see here, I've added 4 effects to it. So first done an EQ, which I've taken the top end out as well. So without everything, it'll sound like this. with a bit of EQ, with some Maximus just to give it a bit more warmth, so like saturation, I would say. So that's without. That's with. Bit of distortion on that. And then finally a little bit of breathing room, bit of space from ROM or Realm, however you pronounce it, from Native Instruments. So I might have also been able to get away with the distortion as well, I think. But I thought, nah, it just needs something a little bit more punch, with a bit more punch, sorry. So I thought, let's leave that in there. Fantastic. All right, good as gold. Then the second thing I added was the rolling bass line on top of the original sub bass, which sounds like this. So it's not a lot of bottom end to be punchy because the main bass comes from the sub here. That's where the bottom end comes out of. If you listen to the kick and the sub bass on its own, there is something to it. But if I add my rolling bass line without the sub, and then add the sub bass, I just think it gives it something a little bit more, gives it a bit more warmth, gives it something else, just makes it feel more wholesome. It's almost like it's got a body to it. It's got like good bottom end, and it's tight as F as well. And for the pattern, it's just very simple, just half tones on every single was it half note or quarter note, whatever it is. And there is also some effects on here as well. We've also got some EQ and also the Nick Romero kickstart for the sidechain because it's easy and I'm lazy. There's a bit of velocity as well on the bottom here. So without the EQ on this, so you notice there's a bit more bottom end, but because I removed it because we have the sub bass, otherwise it'll clash. A little bit of Maximus for warmth. And then the kickstart. So not bad for rolling bass line. And I could have also just gone into this and just said, you know, I'm just going to remove the first note of every kick, every start, the start of every kick. But I thought, nah, you know what, it's just leave it on there because it gives it something else as well. So I left that on there, and I've added my own sort of like effects and things like that. So just a bit of a drone, bit of a brass stab that works with the original one in the stem here. So that note here, that's what we're looking at. And I added my own one just for something a little bit extra. And then this sort of like swoopy thing, I don't even know what it is, but I've got this in here. So that all works together. And I've got this other synth up here. It's just the one note. It's like an EDM type of synth, and it filters down. It's got a cutoff point, and then it sweeps up. So and one more time. And now the filter opens up. And you can do it through automation, very easy. One way you can do it is, I'll just show you real quick if you ever wanted to know how the hell do you make it do that. It is literally a case of going into whichever VST you're using. I'm using Nexus for this one. The cutoff range here, as you're playing, you start from a certain point and then you work your way up, whatever. You can right click in some cases and start learning, move it to a MIDI. But the easiest way, I think, is to go to your tools. You go to last tweaked, and then you say create automation clip. So the last thing that you've done, it'll create an automation clip and you'll be able to muck around with it and change its parameters as you see fit. So that's that there. And then we also have just a bit of another like a drop type of effect, because it just needed something. I just didn't think there was enough in there. And a very simple, just like a 2-note hi-hat shaker. And there is some reverb on that as well, obviously. But that's pretty much the track. That's literally everything in the track. And when it's all together, obviously you get a nice fat sound. So like I said, the majority of the track is in the stems here. The vocals, obviously, the sub bass, I could have picked another one, but because it was already done and I think it was just perfectly suited to the original track, I thought I'm just going to leave it where it's at. Obviously the instrument bus, I could have redone my own chords and little effects and synths and stuff like that, but I thought, you know what, I like everything as it is. I'm just going to leave it because I think it's perfectly suited to what I've done in this rework or edit or however you want to put a term behind what this is here. But yes, there is definitely a bit of a rework in this project here. At least this is what you can definitely hear. So that's pretty much it. I mean, not much for a tutorial, but it was very much so just a bit of a breakdown. So when you hear it and you hear what's happening, you've actually seen the breakdown of the track itself. Not much to it. In this particular form, there's only what? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 tracks. Effectively, there's probably 15 to 20 in total if you break down everything in the instrument bus, and also the effects you can probably put on one track altogether, but the instrument bus is pretty much the main one with the chords, the pads, little synths, and stuff like that. But that's pretty much it. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you do end up getting a copy of it or a stream or downloading or whatever, please let me know what you think when you hear it in its entirety. And that's pretty much me. I'll catch you on the next one. By the way, if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram at nicknova_au, or you can follow me also on SoundCloud, Nick Nova Music, and Spotify as well, Nick Nova. That's pretty much me. Peace out, everybody.